Scylla, heir of Koth, stepped onto the bridge, the crew already at their stations. Scylla settled into the captain's nest, her ragged metal plating and coral growths scraping against the rim as she summoned the virtual interface. 8 of the 27 ships in the fleet were marked as ready now. The Blade of Koth added to the list now that she was here. It wouldn't be long before they were bidding farewell to Tethys and on their way to Venus. The last conflict had been over before the Tethian Kraken could respond. The vast distance from Saturn requiring a 4-month journey. 10 ships now. They would not be late this time. The fighting has not begun, but the rampant attacks on her kin had just started. Even on the serene ocean of Tethys, there have been attacks. People and things uncharacteristically assaulting nearby Kraken, often with fatal results. Through the main view, she could see the waves on the water's surface, the gravity of Saturn pulling great tides from the ocean above. The ship was safe, though, moored at the Tilia shipyards. 13 ships called ready. Koth, like many of Homash's children, had commissioned this ship during the First War, but it will finally see battle, she mused, calling for a weapon system check as she watched ships confirm status, one by one. Weapon systems seemed to be in good working order, though they would not be used for a few months, hopefully never, calling for engines and support system checks next. 15 ships calling in now. Scylla was anxious to depart. The sooner they could leave, the sooner they could help. Tethys would be safe from the UNS, being so far from their territory. Its independence and allies would protect it from fleets, though personal attacks were still a problem. A dozen more happening in the last few days. She had not seen any attacks personally, but her first child had. They were in a public space when a postal worker, suddenly overcome by some force, attacked several Kraken with his bare hands, though his Phanon form was unable to take any lives, soon restrained and arrested. 17 ships were ready. The engines and support system checks had come in, showing all systems in perfect working order, getting checks going on infantry and sensors. Scylla's attention was drawn to the main view. The small cargo shuttle was off course, heading directly for the Blade of Gish. Opening comms, she could hear the shipyard issuing warnings. The Blade of Gish, Blade of Foss, and Blade of Loth were all targeting it. A scream that could only be a war cry issued forth from the shuttle comms, pushing its water jets to full. Within moments, 2 torpedoes were sailing from the Blade of Gish, far more maneuverable than the shuttle. The detonation shattered it. The ship rocked under the turbulence of the detonations, engines pulsing to maintain position. Scylla called for a damage report. 2 valves had cracked in the portside interlock. Not serious, but if there are more attacks, it will be a problem. Signalling back to Homash, she requested launch permission. Apparently not alone, as 21 others were signaling for the same. Within moments, the response came from Homash, heir of none, herself.
All ships, launch as soon as you are able.
Wasting no time, Scylla called for all stations to prepare for launch, rising from her nest to emphasize the urgency. Interlocks and docking corridors released. The Blade of Koth began to rise, 7 others rising with her. The rest followed behind. Within moments, The first of the ships exploded onto the ocean's surface, massive water spray around each as they hit the thin air. Ships began to accelerate across the ocean, gaining enough speed to rise on their hydrofoils. 18 ships in the lead group. Scylla ordered the launch thrusters to fire as soon as possible, the blade of Koth bouncing away from the water's surface as streams of engine plasma boiled water. The fleet began to take formation as they reached orbit, preparing for a main engine burn for the long journey to Venus and war.